Okay. So we will, I'm very happy to see you again. And yes, we will try to recap a little bit what we saw last time. Um, do you remember what we spoke about?
The aspect that is necessary to find a solution for the time gap
Ah,
between
yes,
the outer object and the um, direct perception.
yes, exactly. Very good. Yeah, that was the main point, yeah. Very
Actually, I
good.
wanted to ask the aspect. Is it mind? Is it
So, yes,
form? Is it NSCP?
usually speaking, we could say that the aspect is mind, but there are some debates here when we spoke about that. Okay, so we spoke about the three conditions, and yes, when we see, for instance, a star, yeah, sometimes the star has died since long, yeah, but still we see the light of the star, for instance, yeah. So we said mind the gap, and we spoke about the aspect, yeah. Okay, so you can see some discussions about that in Knowledge and Liberation. Yeah, that's a very nice book. Uh, uh, and Anne Klein, she says that usually speaking, when we speak about the aspect, that's the mind which takes the form of its subject. Yeah, but she speaks about different types of aspects. For instance, we speak about the nam and she nam. The nam, dun would be the object itself, and she nam would be the mind itself, the cognition itself. Yeah, and among the Shenam, the aspect which is mind, you have the Sunam and the Dzinam, yeah, the apprehended aspect and the apprehending aspect. And we saw last time that the apprehending aspect is the self-cognition, yeah. So usually speaking, when we are more specific, we say the Shenam, the cognition aspect, it's necessarily mind. Does this reply a little bit? Yeah, for instance, if you study also the Abhisamaya Alamkara from Arya Maitreya, they would speak also about Dhanam and Shenam, the object aspect, like for instance, impermanence, selflessness, and so on. And the Shenam, the mind aspect, would be the realization of that. Yeah,
So,
okay.
what were the two types of the mind aspect?
So you have the Dzinam and Sunam. So as we said before, the apprehended aspect and the apprehending aspect. Yeah, like the two sides of the coin. Yeah, so the apprehended aspect would be turned towards the object itself, and the apprehending aspect would be the self-cognition for the schools who accept the self-cognition. Yeah, they would say Dzinam, that's the apprehending aspect. Yeah, yeah. And Anne Klein says that the apprehending aspect is observing the apprehended aspect, which is still mind. Yeah, that's why it's mind, knowing mind in one sense. Yeah, yeah, is it more clear? Okay, very good. So yeah, knowledge and liberation has so many good stuff in the book, in that book, yeah. And also we saw the definition of an explicit realization by Kunkian Jamyon Chepa, yeah? That realization of an object by way of its aspect appearing to that cognition. Yeah, yeah, we said that. Yeah, okay. But also Anne Klein says that it's not because an aspect appears to a mind that that mind has to realize that. For instance, she would say the impermanence of the cup appears to the eye consciousness. Yeah, the impermanence of the cup appears to the eye consciousness. So it casts an aspect to the eye consciousness, but it doesn't mean that the eye consciousness realizes the impermanence of the cup. Yeah? Okay. We can say that if there is an explicit realization, the aspect is necessarily apprehended. Yeah.
And what would be an implicit realization?
So that would be that realization of an object without its aspect appearing to that cognition. Yeah, as we saw last time, the selflessness, which is realized by a yogic direct perception. Yeah, it is realized by the yogic direct perception, yeah, necessarily. But it cannot appear to the direct perception because it's permanent, yeah. So it is implicitly realized by a direct perception. Yeah.
And then a direct consciousness cannot explicitly realize impermanence. Oh yeah,
Why?
yogic direct perception could. But like an eye consciousness, consciousness cannot explicitly realize impermanence.
Yeah, there is a strange point made in Knowledge and Liberation. Anne Klein says that it's not possible for an eye consciousness to realize subtle impermanence unless that person is an Arya who realized subtle impermanence. But that's a strange point because it could mean that a non-Buddha could have a sense consciousness which realizes impermanence. That would be a bit awkward, I would say. But yeah, you can draw your own conclusions. We can debate that. Okay. Yeah, very good. Okay, so we saw, yeah, that there are 4P between explicit realization and direct realization, yeah. We saw that, and also Kunkian Jamyang Shepa in the Lori would say that as well. And I guess also Yongzin Purbuchok, yeah, in the Yongzin Lorik, he would say so. Yeah, he would accept that the direct perception can realize directly a permanent phenomenon like selflessness. Some people, some scholars would disagree with that. They would say there is no direct perception of a permanent phenomenon. Yeah. There is a realization by means of a direct perception. They would say so. Yeah, okay. So just some tiny nuances. Eh? Okay, very good. And you can find many good points also from Kedubje in Freedom Through Correct Knowing. Yeah. Page 22, 28. He speaks also about implicit and explicit realizations. Yeah. Okay. Very beautiful book. Okay, and we saw also the different equivalent with existent, you remember? And we saw hidden phenomenon. We saw hidden phenomenon, which is one of the equivalent given by Yunzin Purbuchok as well. And the definition is realized in a hidden manner by the thought consciousness apprehending it. So we have the two words here, realized and apprehending. Yeah, so we will try to see today what means to apprehend, to realize, and so on. Yeah? Okay, so here that's the, we could say hidden phenomenon means existent, yeah? You agree? Okay, because they are equivalent. Yeah, they're equivalent because? If you remember the definition of
They share, but there's missing something. They share the 8 doors of privation and they are, oh no, I forgot the other part. Different maybe, different. Yeah,
Yes,
different. They share the 8 doors of privation. Sorry.
very good. So it follows that if they are different and they share the 8 doors of perversion, they are necessarily equivalent.
Except.
Okay, very good. Yeah. Okay, so it means the hidden phenomenon, it means that we can think about any existent. Yeah, that's just the meaning of that. And we saw that permanent and impermanent are the two main divisions, yeah, of uh, existent or hidden phenomenon. Yeah. Okay. And if you remember, maybe some equivalent with functioning thing, we saw manifest phenomenon. Yeah. Ngungyur. And the definition is explicitly realized by a direct valid cognition. So now you know what means explicitly realized, yeah? You all know that now, yeah? Explicitly realized, yeah? It means that any impermanent phenomenon can cast an aspect to a cognition, a direct cognition, which is realizing that. Yeah, you remember what we saw last time? We saw on Monday that if it exists, it's necessarily an appearing object. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Yonzin Bulbocha will say that, yeah. Yobayena, Nayu Imbeka. Yeah, if it exists, it's necessarily an appearing object. Yeah, because if it is permanent, it is the appearing object of what?
The conceptual mind.
Yes, if it is permanent, it's necessarily the appearing object of thought consciousness. And if it is impermanent, it's necessarily the appearing object
Direct perception.
of direct perception. Very good. Yeah, very good. So here, because any impermanent phenomenon can be explicitly realized by direct valid cognition, it can cast an aspect, it can be the appearing object to the direct perception. Yeah. And sooner or later, I hope, we will also try to delve into the valid cognition also, what means direct valid cognition, inferential valid cognition, and so on. Yeah. Okay, but as you can see, we go step by step. Yeah. So very good. So now start to play. Well, it follows that the subject, the two hidden phenomenon and manifest phenomenon are not contradictory. Yeah, except for Chavila, who goes in the club, in Chavila's club.
I also for accept.
Yeah. So two members in the club. Who would say why?
Sorry, can we define what is manifest phenomenon?
Yeah, manifest phenomenon, the definition is that which is explicitly realized by a direct valid cognition. That which is explicitly realized by a direct valid cognition.
Yeah. Okay, except.
Okay, so they are contradictory.
They're not contradictory.
Ah, they are not contradictory. Okay. Ah, yes, you accept as well. Okay. So everybody accepts. Okay, very good. So because usually speaking, when we hear hidden phenomenon, it's necessarily not manifest, yeah? Okay, and if it is manifest, it's necessarily not hidden. So it follows that they are contradictory.
But yeah, that's what I thought in the beginning. But then when you said explicitly realized by direct valid cognition, I thought, oh, when then it doesn't need to be hidden. Um, it can
Yeah.
it can be hidden as well because direct valid cognition can have direct can see I mean can have apprehend hidden phenomena as well, so that's why they're not contradictory.
They are not contradictory.
I don't know, I mean we'll see as
Okay, so most of you agree on that. Yeah, manifest and hidden, they are not contradictory. Okay, because usually speaking, when we hear that, we tend to think, oh, but if it is hidden, it's not manifest, and if it is manifest, it's not hidden. Yeah. So, but still, if manifest means impermanent and hidden means existent, then are existent and impermanent contradictory? No, they are not contradictory because
There exists a common base.
yes. So, what is the difference between impermanent and existent?
3P.
3P, yeah. So what is the difference between manifest phenomenon and hidden phenomenon?
Also 3P.
Also 3P, yes, exactly, because it's just another way to say that, yeah. Okay, very good, yeah, we have existent and impermanent, yeah, you didn't fall into my trap, yeah. Very good. You're very clever. Existent and impermanent, yeah, we can just say hidden phenomenon and manifest phenomenon, yeah, 3P. Yeah, they're not contradictory. Okay, fantastic. Wow. So we will see a little bit more about perception. Yeah, when we said that there is an aspect, it's like when we see things through a window. It's not fully direct. It's not like the mind encounters directly the object, as we saw before. There is the aspect, and the aspect could be illustrated by the glass. Yeah, in one sense. Okay. But the conception, yeah, thought consciousness works like a mirror. It's very, very different. Yeah. Okay, very good. So another point here, another debate. Well, it follows that the subject, the two, direct perception and thought consciousness, are not contradictory.
Why?
Okay.
Why?
Why? Yeah, it follows that the subject, the two, direct perception are okay. What or why? Something. Okay, it follows that the challenger will try to address a reason. It follows that the subject, the two, direct perception and thought consciousness are not contradictory because the engaged objects are not contradictory. Yeah, manifest phenomenon and hidden phenomenon are not contradictory. So if manifest phenomenon, which is explicitly realized by direct valid cognition, and hidden phenomenon, which is realized in a hidden manner by the thought consciousness apprehending it, if they are not contradictory, it follows that their cognitions are not contradictory.
No perversion.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. No perversion, yeah. The reason is established. Yeah, the engaged objects are not contradictory. Yeah, we saw hidden phenomenon and the manifest phenomenon are not contradictory. Yeah. Okay, but still their respective cognitions are contradictory. Yeah, that's a point made by Kedubje as well. Yeah, in Freedom Through Correct Knowing. Yeah? No perversion, very good. So it's not because the object itself is not contradictory that the mind are not contradictory. Yeah, they are contradictory. Yeah, direct perception and thought consciousness are contradictory. Yeah, everybody agrees? Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, so because of those small debates, you can enter into the texts. When you read those books that I show you, then you can enter into that and you can maybe more likely agree with what they say. Okay. Okay, another debate. Okay. Well, it follows that if it is impermanent, it's necessarily a manifest phenomenon.
Except?
Yeah, because we said just before, impermanent functioning thing and manifest phenomenon are equivalent, yeah? Yeah, you agree? Okay.
But sorry,
Yeah,
I would have said except because
yeah.
why uh, is or hidden phenomena can also or unmanifest phenomena can also be impermanent.
Yes. Yes, a hidden phenomenon means existent, yeah?
Yeah.
So existent, if it exists, it can be permanent or it can be impermanent, yeah?
But if it is impermanent, it cannot be hidden.
So it follows that if it is impermanent, it cannot exist.
No, I think it can. I think if it is impermanent, it is existing. but it doesn't
Okay.
need to manifest. It's
Okay.
not necessarily a manifest.
So it follows that when we posited impermanent and manifest phenomenon as equivalent, we made a boo-boo.
Impermanent and manifest phenomenon.
Yeah, in the list given by Yunzin Pulbuchok, we have impermanent, cause, effect, composed phenomenon, and what else? Specifically characterized phenomenon, ultimate truth, and also manifest phenomenon. Yeah.
Is a dream a manifest phenomena?
Yes, yes, a dream is an appearance to the mental consciousness. Yeah.
Okay, so that would also be a manifest phenomena. I thought if
Yes.
it is not in the waking state, it is not a manifest phenomena.
Yeah. Well, what is shown by the dream doesn't exist. Yeah. If you dream about the blue sky, there is no blue sky. Yeah. Yeah. It's just the appearance. There is no blue sky in your mind, I would say. It's just the appearance of a blue sky. Yeah? So the appearance exists, but the blue sky, which is shown by this dream, doesn't exist. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there is a, okay, so that is also impermanent and manifest. Okay, then I'll accept.
Okay, very good. So it follows that if it is impermanent, it's necessarily a manifest phenomenon. Yeah. Okay, everybody agrees. Accept. It is the case because
they are equivalent.
they're equivalent. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, very good. Fantastic. Okay, so now you can look at that beautiful picture. Yeah, maybe it will remember something, it will recall you something if you study logic. Okay, it follows that for the correct opponent to whom the syllogism is addressed with respect to the subject on the smoky hill, there is fire because there is smoke. Fire is a manifest phenomenon. Oh,
Except
so it follows that the correct opponent is not a correct opponent because it doesn't need the syllogism to ascertain the existence of fire. We don't need to address a syllogism to him. I cannot tell you. So it follows that on the screen there is a cup because there is my red cup. You don't need to ascertain the cup through a syllogism. Yeah? Oh, because the cup is manifest phenomenon. Yeah? So now you see smoke. You are on the foot of the hill, and you see smoke, and your friend says, "Okay, come, we can have some, you know, uh, uh, we can have some tea. I'm boiling some tea with the fire." But you will say, "Oh, but there is no fire." Then I will say, "Look, there is smoke. If there is smoke, then there is fire." It follows on the smoky hill there is fire because there is smoke. So fire is not a manifest phenomenon.
Why?
Oh, so it follows that it is a manifest phenomenon.
Yes.
Okay,
Accept.
so it follows that I don't need to address a syllogism in order to prove the existence of fire on the smoky path.
You don't need to address it, meaning?
Yeah, like if we assert a syllogism to someone, so that person needs to be a correct opponent. Yeah. Like, for instance, you cannot debate with Arya Manjushri about emptiness, yeah? Because Arya Manjushri doesn't have any doubt with regard to emptiness. Yes, but if you are on the foot of the hill, then you could have any doubt. Is there any fire somewhere? You know, it's cold and I need to get some warm zone, some comfort zone. I need to have a place where I could boil some tea and so on. But I doubt that there is such a place. Then I will tell you, okay, look, there is smoke here. If there is smoke, there is necessarily fire.
Only
Yes.
because it's a manifest phenomenon, it doesn't mean that it is appearing in every moment to the mind of a certain direct perception of a person. Like else every like right now, else all impermanent phenomena would have to appear to you, no? Does it work?
Yes, yes, for instance, yeah, we could say, okay. Like for instance, it follows that the omniscient mind is impermanent.
Except.
Yeah, and does the omniscient mind appear to us?
No.
No. Okay, so it means that it appears in some cases, in some contexts. Yeah, yeah, do you agree?
I
So
agree.
here, for instance, if I am on the top of the hill and you are on the foot of the hill, for me, the fire is a manifest phenomenon. Yeah, and for you, it is hidden. Because you think about fire. You think about fire, you have an inferential valid cognition, which ascertains the existence of fire, independence on the reason, oh, there is smoke. Yeah. So for you, it's a hidden phenomenon, because for the first time, for you to ascertain that fire, you need your thought consciousness. But for me, I prepared the fire. I was waiting for you, and I wanted to share tea with you. I was preparing the fire, so it is manifest for me. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So it depends on the context. Yeah. Yes.
Yes, two hidden phenomena that we're discussing here, right?
Yeah. There are two phenomena. Yeah. Two different types of cognitions. Yeah.
Two different hidden phenomena. One is what we're calling the existence, and one is with respect
Oh,
the inferential inferred object.
yes. We can say that they are more or less the same, because when we say hidden phenomenon, it means it can be thought about by anyone. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
it can be inferred by anyone. Yeah, that's the meaning of that. Yeah. And also for manifest phenomenon, yeah, it can be explicitly realized by direct valid cognition of anyone. It doesn't mean that it has to be me or my cognition. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
There we go. So if we say, again, it follows that for the correct opponent to whom the syllogism is addressed with respect to the subject on the smoky hill, there is fire because there is smoke. Fire is a manifest phenomenon. For the correct opponent.
No, then why? Why?
Yes, why? Yeah. For me, which I'm addressing that syllogism to the correct opponent, it is a manifest phenomenon. But for him or for her, then it's not. It's a hidden phenomenon, yeah? Okay. So why? Exactly. Very good. So you can find some very beautiful details in Tibetan logic. That's the last part of the Yongzin Dura. It's the Yongzin Tarik, the logic from Yongzin Purbuchok, which is fully translated and annotated by Catherine Rogers. Okay, very good. So it follows that the subject fire in general is a manifest phenomenon. Yeah, very good. In general, yeah, because in general it is, yeah, we have to accept that it is impermanent. So in general, it's manifest phenomenon, not in the context of the correct opponent. Yeah. Okay, very good. So accept, yeah, fantastic. So the following of the debate is according to what we debated with Christine. I'm so sad that she didn't come today, but I hope She will be able to join on next Monday. Okay, good. It follows that the subject fire can appear to an eye consciousness.
Except.
Yes, it can appear to an eye consciousness. Yeah. Okay. If the defender says why, what kind of reason would you say? For
Because it's
instance.
an object of touch consciousness.
Okay. So the defender would say so, but the challenger, in order to prove the point, it follows that the subject fire can appear to an eye consciousness. Palavila tries to find a reason to oppose it to Zigrunla, for instance.
It is because it has form.
Ah, yeah. Because, or we could even say because it is form.
Because it is form, yeah.
Ah, so it follows that if it is form, it can necessarily appear to an eye consciousness.
Except, yeah.
It follows that the subject sound can appear to an eye consciousness. No, says Tetamomola.
Why does sound have form? What form does sound have?
Yes, it is form. Yeah, it is matter.
Okay, is it shape and color? I don't know. Is it?
Ah, yes. So shape and color, they are form source.
Okay.
Form for the eye consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah. So fire can appear to eye consciousness because it has shape and color.
Yes, okay. So it has shape and color. It is not shape and color, but it has shape and color. Yeah. Yeah, I would say the same. Yeah. Yeah, it follows that the subject fire can appear to an eye consciousness because its color and shape appear to it, no? So now Zigrunla accepts. Okay. Yes, we can say, like, for instance, can a person appear to an eye consciousness?
No.
No.
Well, depends on what you define person.
So a person, the definition given by Yonzin Purbuchak is Rangi Pompong Rapo Karo Latene Tape Kebu. Yeah, an individual which is imputed independence on more or less of its five aggregates. Yeah. Yeah, any of its five aggregates. Yeah, so it follows that the person is an NACP. Okay, it follows that you can posit the definition of an NACP.
Something that is neither form nor consciousness.
Okay,
A phenomenon.
a phenomenon which is not form nor consciousness, it follows that uncompounded space is an NACP because it's a
And
phenomenon.
impermanent.
Okay.
An impermanent phenomenon that is not form and not mind.
Okay, so it follows that the subject, a person, is an impermanent phenomenon which is not form nor consciousness.
Except.
So it follows that the person is not form.
Except.
So it follows that the person cannot be seen by anyone.
Why?
Ah, it can. Okay. It can. Still, it is not form. Yeah. Okay.
By the body, because the body can be perceived, the person can be perceived.
Okay. So it follows that the person can be seen when the person's body can be seen.
No, can be seen, no, actually.
Can
be not, it's not.
We could say, maybe I was wrong in the formulation, but we could say, so it follows that the person is seen when the body is seen. No, c'est un moment-là. It follows that the person is not seen when the body of the person is seen. Okay, so it follows that nobody can see a person. Okay, so so it follows that okay, if my mother asks me after the class, did you see Tsetan Wamola? I cannot say that.
Conventional terms, yes.
Okay. Follows that if she asks me, did you see anyone on the market last Saturday? I cannot give an answer. I cannot say I saw someone, I saw nobody. I can just say I saw nobody.
Yeah, it's difficult to answer that. In terms of conventional truth, we can
Sorry?
say. Because
So,
this is the policy is because of the two truths, I guess.
You will see bodies in the market, but you will not see a person in the market.
okay. So I can just tell to my mom, okay, I saw bodies, but I saw nobody. That's weird, no? Okay. So maybe we can recall what we saw previously, the difference between self-sufficiently apprehensible substantial existence and non-self-sufficiently apprehensible imputed existence. Yeah, for instance, if I ask you what time is it, what would be the answer?
Where?
Anywhere you can choose.
So there is 9:40 a.m.
9:40 a.m. Wow. Where are you, Paravila? In America?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Okay, so 9:40 a.m. Okay. So, but how do you know that? Because time is an NACP.
It is an imputed time based on the East Coast.
Okay. So, how do you know what time it is now?
I
What?
had to look at the clock.
Ah, okay, and the clock is form,
Yes.
but the time is not form. Time is a functioning thing which is not form nor consciousness. Yeah? Still,
Yes.
you can say what time it is in America. Yeah? Okay, so you can perceive the time now.
Mm.
Okay, you can see what time it is. Okay, because you see the clock. So it follows that the NACP, which is time, which is an NACP, I would say, is an imputed phenomenon, is
Okay.
a non-sufficiently apprehensible imputed phenomenon. Yeah?
Non-sufficiently?
Yes, because when we say generally speaking, when we just say imputed phenomenon, it could mean permanent. So that's why we need to say, okay, not self-sufficiently imputed phenomenon and so on. Yeah, just to be sure that we speak about those phenomena which appear by means of another phenomenon appearing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it follows that the person can be seen when the body is seen. Like time is seen when the clock is seen.
Except.
Ah, so now you changed your mind. We can see a person.
Yeah, actually. It's my mind in between.
Well, we change our mind based on the definitions. Clarity of
Yes,
definition. Yeah, okay. So non-sufficiently imputed phenomena of a person is seen through the body of the person.
exactly, because the person is one substance with the body of the person. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. When you see the body of the person, you see the person. Yeah.
Is it one substance?
They are one substance. Yeah. Because when you see the body and the person, they appear to the same direct perception, but they don't appear separately.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's why we say we can see someone. We can see someone even if that someone is an NACP. We see that someone because we see the body of that, or the face of that someone.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
C'est un moment-là. Do you disagree? Yeah, it's not easy. Yeah? Like for instance, Okay, c'est un moment-là prefers the yogic direct perception. So, for instance, an area, an area which directly realizes subtle impermanence. Yeah, subtle impermanence is one substance with a cup, for instance. Or subtle impermanence is one substance with the aggregates, for instance. Yeah. Yeah, so an Arya can directly realize subtle impermanence. Yeah. Of course, that yogic direct realization is mental. So the question is less important in that case. But in the context of a sense cognition, yeah, the question is more important. How do we see time? How do we see a person? Can we see a person, or just the person is totally hidden? We need to infer the person. That's a question. Yeah, that's a question. But if we say that, okay, the person is impermanent, so it's a manifest phenomenon, so it's explicitly realized by a direct valid cognition. So it means that a sense cognition is able to see a person. But we could say, no, no perversion. It's not because it's explicitly realized by a direct valid cognition that it has to be a direct valid sense cognition. Yeah, we could say the person can be seen by a clairvoyant person or by a yogic direct perception. Yeah, that would be a kind of issue. But if you remember, yeah, we saw last time that in order to see the time, we see the clock. Okay, so time is imputedly existent. And the person as well, yeah, the definition of a person is an individual which is imputed independence on any of its aggregates. Yeah? So imputed means that's a non-self-sufficiently apprehensible imputed existence. Yeah? Okay, no problem. We can still debate that next time. Okay, so if we say, okay, that fire can appear to an eye consciousness because the color and the shape appear to it, that would be similar to what we saw here. Time appears to a sense consciousness through the clock. Yeah, because the clock and time are one substance. When the clock appears, time appears. Yeah. Okay, so here we could say fire is not a form source, is not shape and color. It has shape and color, but it is not shape and color. So because it has shape and color, when we see the shape and the color of fire, we see fire, no? Yeah. Christine would disagree. Okay. Okay, let's check. Okay, so you would accept, yeah? Very good. It follows that the subject fire can be seen by an eye consciousness. Yeah, you would accept so. Okay. Yes, accept. It follows that the subject fire can be realized by an eye consciousness. No.
Why?
It follows that the subject fire cannot be realized. Why? I put why like Palavila. Okay, you have few people accepting why, yeah, or not accepting. Yeah, so you just want to say why. It follows that the subject fire can't be realized by an eye consciousness.
Accept.
Yes, wow. The subject fire can't be realized by an eye consciousness because
Because for fire to be explicitly realized, it needs a thought consciousness or direct perception.
yes.
It has to be a mental consciousness, not the eye consciousness.
Okay. So it follows that, for instance, your eye consciousness cannot realize the red color of the cup. Only the mental consciousness is able to do so.
No.
So it follows that your eye consciousness is able to realize the red color of a cup.
I am confused here.
Yeah. So yeah.
Fire has more than that color and shape quality. It has warmth and maybe burning sensation, which cannot be realized by an eye consciousness.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly. Even if you know, uh, sometimes you can go in the sunlight and your eyes could feel the warmth of the sunlight, yeah. But that's a body sensation, yeah. That's a body feeling, yeah, because the we say that this body power or the tactile power is pervading the whole body, we could say. So even if the eyes could feel the warmth, that's not an eye consciousness. It's a body consciousness. It's a tactile consciousness. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very good. Okay, so yes, fire. Fire, what is the definition of fire?
Hot and
Hot and-
burning.
Hot and burning, very good. It follows that an eye consciousness cannot realize hot and burning. Yes, what can realize hot and burning?
Tactile.
Yes, very good. Tactile consciousness. Fantastic. Yeah, so that's why here the subject fire can't be realized by an eye consciousness because it's not an object of apprehension of an eye consciousness. Yeah, we say in Tibetan the definition of a form source, it's that which is an object of apprehension of an eye consciousness. Yeah, Mikshe Kisunja. That's very specific. Object of apprehension of an eye consciousness. It's only color and shape. Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say, the object of apprehension to a mental consciousness, no?
Yes. So in that case, the object of apprehension of a mental consciousness, we can call it a phenomenon source. Yeah, phenomenon source. Like in the Heart Sutra, when you have the 18 constituents, yeah, the final one is the object for the mental consciousness, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you have the 6 objects, 6 powers, and 6 consciousnesses, yeah, 18 constituents or 18 elements, if we can say. So one of them, yeah, phenomenon source, is the object of apprehension of a mental consciousness. Yeah, it can be impermanent and it can be permanent. Yeah. So that's why when we speak about the aggregates, we speak necessarily about impermanent phenomena. But when we speak about the 18 elements, we necessarily speak about all phenomena. Yeah, very good. Fantastic.
But so I have a question here. Why only tactile conscious? Why is fire the object of apprehension of only tactile consciousness? Because like you said, we could be feeling the sun's warmth on our body, and it could also be burning us and causing us, a skin burn or whatever. But until and unless we see it, we cannot call it fire. It's just the sun's rays making us feel that. So, in conjunction with the eye consciousness and the tactile consciousness, we can say that it is not fire, even though it is hot and burning.
Yeah. Yeah, so it follows that if it is hot and burning, it can be not fire.
Yeah.
So it follows that
Water.
hot and burning and fire are not equivalent.
But would we call that fire? I mean, like you said, like the hot water.
Yeah, we can say that hot water is on one side hot and on the other side is burning, but it's not hot and burning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could say that the sunlight is warm or it can be hot. It can be
Yeah.
on the other side burning, but it's not
Yeah.
hot and burning because it's not fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
one way to escape that debate. Like for instance, maybe we saw that before, yeah? Like
Yeah.
someone who is not of a certain lineage, yeah, someone who enters in the fundamental vehicle first, then obtains the arhathood, yeah, nirvana, then after cultivates bodhicitta, then that person enters in the Mahayana path. Yeah, so that person is an Arya, is a bodhisattva, but is not an Arya bodhisattva yet, because an Arya bodhisattva begins on the path of seeing of Mahayana. Yeah, so that person entered before the Pratimokshayana, the ground vehicle, and then obtained the Aryahood and Arhat. So an Arhat is necessarily an Arya. And after that person cultivates bodhicitta, yeah, spontaneous bodhicitta. So that person enters into the Mahayana path of accumulation. So that person becomes a bodhisattva and is still an Arya. Yeah, but is not an Arya bodhisattva yet. So it's an Arya and it's a bodhisattva, but it's not an Arya bodhisattva. Yeah, is it a bit more clear?
So we can debate like that. We can clarify this like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could say that the four elements, earth, water, fire, and wind, are the objects of apprehension of a tactile consciousness. Yeah, because only a tactile consciousness can apprehend hard and obstructive, wet and moistening, hot and burning, and so on. Yeah.
Mm.
Still, we can say that we see fire from afar because we see the color of fire, no?
Yes.
Still, we cannot say that the eye consciousness is realizing fire.
Okay.
So if I'm thinking about the fire as an element, and it is hot water, fire has given its essence to hot water. So I'm experiencing fire through hot water. I'm experiencing fire through the sun burning. Like it's the essence of fire that is coming to me through all of these things. So I can actually mentally impute that all I'm experiencing is fire.
Yeah, we could debate that. We could debate that because in the Abhidharma, they would accept that any material form is made from the four elements and the four derivatives. We could say the four arisen from the elements. Yeah, we have four visual form, smell, taste, and tactile object. Yeah, and the four elements. So yeah, earth, water, fire, and wind. So any material form has to be constituted by those elements. So I remember when Venerable Gen Losel gave debates last time, he said that it follows that in the Atlantic Ocean, during winter time, when you put your finger in the water, you can feel fire.
Except.
Oh, really?
Because I mean, well, it depends on where on the Atlantic Ocean in the winter, but it is very cold, right?
Yes,
Let's
it's very
say I'm
cold.
in an iceberg and I put my
Yes,
hand in, I will experience burn in my hand.
yes, burn, it's okay, but hot?
You can't feel anything once you get a frostbite. You're not feeling hot or cold. You're just feeling burn.
Okay, so if you are not feeling anything, you cannot feel hot.
Well, you can define it as hot or cold. I mean, have you been in a situation like it's really very interesting that you can't figure out whether am I hot or am I cold? It's actually extreme heat in a cold form. Cold heat is very, very, it numbs your skin immediately first. So
Yes.
the brain cannot understand, oh, am I touching fire or am I touching ice?
Yeah.
But you can feel the burn sensation.
Exactly. So for that very cold iceberg, I would accept debate on that. But if you put your finger in the cold water, just cold water, can you feel hot and burning?
So can I ask, I think if all material is made of these elements, that
Yes.
I am not able to figure out how much of fire am I feeling, how much of water am I feeling, the coolness of water, how much am I feeling? And it's the confusion in my brain that's not letting me understand the components of these four elements. But if my brain was like some superior brain, or I have some supercomputer that's able to immediately understand, like if I can design a supercomputer chip that can analyze and break down the data, it'll tell me exactly how much water content, how much fire content. And
Yeah.
so I think, yes, we could feel fire if our brain was superior.
Yeah, we could say we could feel fire under the proper conditions.
Yes.
If we boil water, then we could feel the the fire which is activated within
Yeah.
that. Why not? Yeah, but it would follow that boiling water is hot and burning, so it is fire. So it follows that water and fire are not contradictory. So that's why we enter into some difficult issues. Yeah, but yeah, that can be debated. Yeah, we have lots of debate about that. Yeah, yeah. So if you check in science and philosophy in the Indian Buddhist classics, then you can find in the volume 1, they explain how form exists, how the great elements are different from the elements. Yeah, so the great elements, they are the constituents of things, but it doesn't mean that they are the elements themselves, like fire and water and so on. Otherwise, then it would follow that there is not only water inside the cup, but also the cup is made of water. Because water is one of the elements of the great elements, yeah, which constitute any material form. So there are many debates about that, yeah. Still, we could say, yeah, okay, we could say that anyhow, fire is not the object of apprehension of an eye consciousness, because the eye consciousness can only have as its object of apprehension colors and shape. Like long in the WhatsApp group, long is an instance of shape. So long life has to be a shape. I'm joking. Yeah, so we can debate so many things like this. Yeah, just to understand some nuances and to draw our own conclusions. Yeah, sometimes the Sautrantika would face some difficulty, so that's why we need to go further to the Chittamatra and the Madhyamaka. Yeah, okay, very good. So the subject fire is not an object of apprehension of an eye consciousness because we just said before it's an object of apprehension of a tactile consciousness. Yeah, Luishe Gisunja in Tibetan. Yeah. Okay, very good. Yes, it follows that if it is an object of apprehension of a tactile consciousness, it's necessarily not an object of apprehension of an eye consciousness. Yes, you would agree, yeah? Okay, very good. Accept. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't agree.
Yes. No, you don't agree. Okay, it follows that if it is an object of apprehension of the tactile consciousness, it's necessarily not an object of apprehension of an eye consciousness. You could say why, Kalavila?
Yes, why?
Okay. So what could be the common base?
But I'm asking you why.
Okay, because each sense sphere has its own apprehended object. Yeah, like only the eye consciousness, eye sphere, eyes sensory sphere can realize shape and color.
Hmm.
But we could debate that. It follows that if it's early in the morning, it's still dark in your home, and you're checking your phone. Yeah, it's very dark in your room, and you are checking your phone just beside your bed, and you touch the, for instance, the cup. You know that it's not your phone. Yeah, so your tactile consciousness is realizing a round shape.
But if
You
let me
accept? Yeah, you accept that your tactile consciousness is realizing a round shape.
a round shape, yes,
So it follows that shape.
But without eye consciousness, it cannot understand that it's a cup or not. It could be a round ball. It could be something else. I don't
Yes,
know yet.
if you know that you put your cup and your phone just beside your bed yesterday evening, then in the morning it's still dark and you want to just pick up your phone and you touch your cup, then your body consciousness knows that it's not your phone, that it is your cup.
No, because my mental consciousness told me that I had kept my my cup next to my bed, therefore I can find it. But if my mental consciousness didn't remember that, I would be touching anything and my touch consciousness would not know.
Yes. So still we could say that your touch consciousness is able to realize a shape.
Except.
So it follows that shape is not only the object of apprehension of an eye consciousness. That's a common base between an object of apprehension of a tactile consciousness and object of apprehension of an eye consciousness.
Except.
Oh. Okay, so it follows that the great logicians made a boo-boo when they kept the definition of an object of apprehension of an eye consciousness as being only color and shape. And for the tactile consciousness, deposit 6 or 8, I don't really remember. Yeah, the 4 elements, and yeah, maybe 6. Yeah, 4 elements and hunger and something else. I don't remember well, sorry. Okay, maybe thirst, I'm not sure. Okay, very good.
Sorry, I'll just say one thing. Why? Because fire itself is the common base. Because I would say that if I touched a hot iron and my eyes is asleep, I would think I touched fire, but I did not. Without my eye consciousness telling me that it wasn't fire, I actually touched a hot iron.
Yes, so yeah. Yeah,
But so
that's an issue, yeah. Yeah, because
necessary.
fire is not necessarily a flame. Yeah, fire is hot and burning. Yeah, it's not necessarily a flame. Yeah, for instance, in a brasero, you can find fire. Yeah, even if there is no flame. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh, it's the feeling of fire. Okay.
So it's not the feeling, because feeling is a mental factor, and a mental factor is not fire. It's necessarily mind. Yeah, it's a cognition.
Yeah.
So
I don't
that's why
understand. It's necessarily not an object of eye consciousness. My problem is with necessarily not, because
yes.
I think eyes can also understand fire without touching fire.
Okay.
So
So
why?
suppose that your eye consciousness can feel hot and burning.
No, what I'm saying is the mental consciousness is what is deciding that it is fire based on the information it is getting from eyes, even if the tactile consciousness is not coming into play immediately.
Yes.
It's not only, which is why I keep saying mental consciousness and not the tactile or the eyes, because it needs all this information together, no?
Yeah, some people would say so, yeah. Some textbooks, maybe that's why Christine would agree with you, because she debated at Sera, yeah, this year. And at Sera Monastery, they would say that if you are not trained in language, cup cannot be realized by an eye consciousness. Yes. So they would say that a cup is not realized by an eye consciousness. But some others, like in Jabun Loseling, they would say that even the definition of cup appears to your eye consciousness and can be realized. by your eye consciousness. So there are different debates about that. They don't fully agree on everything. Yeah, we could say the mental consciousness is necessary in one sense. Yeah, like Acharya Kamalashila would say so in the Tattva Samgraha Panjika. He says, Nahi anubhava matra eva nishchayo bhavati. Yeah, he says that it's not because the mere experience ascertains its object. Yeah, if there is no interest, for instance, or if there is no habituation, for instance, then we cannot necessarily know. We don't necessarily know that object itself, even if we have an experience of that. Yeah, so there are so many debates about that. I'm not even sure I could give a final answer.
I like Acharya Kamalashila. I should be
Yeah,
more.
Acharya Kamalashila, so beautiful. Yeah, Nahi anubhava matrad eva nishchayo bhavati. That's beautiful. Okay. Okay.
But before you were saying the eye consciousness can see fire, but
Yeah,
it
we can
cannot
say
realize fire.
exactly.
Then
That's the definition.
what is the meaning of seeing?
So
It is ascertaining.
yes, it is apprehended. It is apprehended by the eye consciousness, but it is not realized by the eye consciousness. That's why there is a strong distinction between to apprehend and to realize. Yeah, for instance, any inattentive cognition apprehends its object, but is not realizing it. Yeah, for instance, if you see that picture and suddenly there is a beautiful guitar solo from David Gilmour or Eric Clapton, then your mental consciousness could go towards the direction of the ear consciousness. So your eye consciousness is still apprehending the picture, but is not realizing the picture anymore. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes,
Like
please.
a yogic direct perceiver is a human being, right? With all the senses. A
Sorry.
yogic direct perceiver is a human being with all the senses. So, is it necessary to be a human being to have the yogic direct perception, or it can be in any other, like it can be realized by any other than human being? So,
Yeah. Some others they could do so. For instance, in the form and formless realms, especially the form realm, because the formless is too subtle that the Arya Bodhisattvas, for instance, they would not stay in that formless realm, but they could stay in the form realm, have a yogic direct perception of selflessness, then realize enlightenment in the form realm, in Akanishta. For instance, in the sutra system, they would accept so. They would say that someone can take rebirth in the form realm, so it's a deva, it's not a human being. And that person realizes directly selflessness for the last time, we could say, and obtains enlightenment.
And then sense consciousness are not necessarily needed for realizing emptiness, right?
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. Except for a Buddha. For a Buddha, sense consciousness is omniscient.
Okay.
Yeah, they will not agree about not everybody would agree on that, but Lati Rinpoche in mind in Tibetan Buddhism would give that illustration. Yeah, an omniscient mind, any mind of a Buddha, even sense consciousnesses are omniscient. So if they are omniscient, they know all phenomena, so they also know emptiness directly, so they are yogic direct perceptions. But otherwise, for non-Buddha, a yogic direct perception is necessarily a mental consciousness. Yeah, very good. Okay, so let's posit that Palavila accepts, but we could find another solution. Yeah, no problem. Okay, just the last one, the last debate. it follows that if it is an appearing object to an I consciousness, of an I consciousness, it is necessarily the object explicitly realized by that I consciousness.
Why?
If it is. So Chaviji says no. No, because she knows I will trick her. I'm preparing the trap. Okay, but usually speaking, we can accept so. Usually speaking, but there are some exceptions. Yeah, it follows that if it is an appearing object to of an I consciousness, it is necessarily the object explicitly realized by that I consciousness. I would say so. If you say why, I would give a reason, for instance, because it casts an aspect to that I consciousness.
But it can be wrong cognition.
Okay. Okay, yes. Okay. Yeah.
The I consciousness seeing fire, then what would be the appearing object?
The color of fire and the shape of fire.
No fire,
It
that
is-
is the appearing
Maybe
object.
painting of a fire.
Sorry?
Painting of a fire, it is necessarily the object explicitly realized by that I consciousness.
Yeah, the very first part of this painting,
Painting.
painted fire. Okay, painted fire. Painted fire. It follows it is not fire. It is a terminological division of fire. Like
Okay.
like artificial flowers and natural flowers. Yeah, there are terminological divisions of flowers. Yes, but if it's a wrong cognition, yeah, for instance, wrong cognition, okay, it is necessarily the object explicitly realized by that I consciousness. Okay, yeah, it could be a wrong cognition. Yeah, yeah, I didn't think about that. Okay, but if it is not a wrong cognition, you're too clever. Now I need to make more nuanced trapped. So it follows that if it is an appearing object to a correct I consciousness, I should say, it is necessarily the object explicitly realized by that I consciousness. Or an appearing object to an unmistaken I consciousness.
Still say why.
Okay, you know the trap is coming, that's why, you know.
I'm accepting actually.
Yeah.
But unmistaken is not possible if it's an I consciousness.
Yes, if that I consciousness is
But an I
unmistaken.
consciousness that realizes, right, would necessarily non-mistaken.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sunset.
Sorry?
Sunset.
Sunset. Sunset, okay. Yeah, sunset. Yeah, it can be realized by an I consciousness, no?
Yes.
I'm not sure. A very tiny yes. Okay. Okay.
No, because let's say the eye consciousness is like a camera. You've kept the camera and you've kept it and it's capturing all the sunset. Is there does it realize the sunset? I think the sunset is the subject, right? It needs self-cognition. If it's not the apprehending aspect. You need an apprehending aspect, self-cognition mind to realize the sunset.
Yeah, so for instance, the Vaibhashika, the Prasangika, and so on, they will not accept the self-cognition. So they don't need to posit the self-cognition in order to posit valid cognition, yeah? Okay, so we will decipher a little bit the valid cognition next time, but here is just to make the distinction between apprehending an object, yeah, or an appearing object, and realizing that appearing object, yeah? Okay, but a camera would not be a consciousness anyway, it would be a matter, Yeah, so it cannot realize anything. Okay, so Zingruna is ready to put a foot in my trap. That's so kind. Thank you. You have compassion. Everybody is compassionate. Okay, accept. Yeah. It follows that the subject blue, which is the object condition of an eye consciousness, is the appearing object to that eye consciousness. Yes.
Accept.
It's easier. Yeah, it's easy to accept. Yeah, I would accept as well. Okay. Accept. It follows that the subject blue, which is the object condition of an eye consciousness, is apprehended by that eye consciousness. Yes. Okay. Accept, very good. It follows that the subject blue, which is the object condition of an eye consciousness, is realized by that eye consciousness.
Yes, accept.
Oh, yes, everybody accepts now. Thank you so much. That's so kind. Okay. So, for instance, okay, let's say that, for instance, I will ask you how many pages are apprehended by your eye consciousness. Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Oh,
Okay. We cannot deny.
331.
540. 540.
I can't even say because I need my glass. It's written so small. Okay. I think it's more than 4. Yeah, 444. Okay, maybe. So even my eye consciousness is apprehending, but not realizing the number of the page. Okay, so 444. So we cannot deny that it was apprehended by your eye consciousness, yeah? But it was not, and it was the appearing object also. All the pages are the appearing objects of our eye consciousness. But they are going so fast, yeah? So they cannot be realized. It goes too quick, yeah? Okay, so that's why you can find a debate in mind in Tibetan Buddhism about that. Okay, and also in Recognizing Reality, there is a quote from Acharya Dharmotara, which explains that. He says that that's just beautiful. He says that which is obtained by the direct perception is the continuum itself, because a smallest instant cannot be obtained by it. Obtained means realized, yeah? So because it goes too quick, it's the appearing object, yeah? So the object condition endures for a very short moment of time. Yeah, so the object condition is apprehended by the eye consciousness. The blue, the color blue, which is the object condition, is the appearing object to the eye consciousness apprehending it, but it's not realized because it goes too quick. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. But can we define realized again? What is realized?
Yes. So that's why we will delve into that next time. We will say that between apprehended by a cognition and realized by a cognition, we could say, how many P? What do you say?
4P.
4P. Yes. Okay. So we will try to see that next time. What means to realize? To realize means to cut superimpositions, to eliminate superimpositions. Yeah. Jondok choba in Tibetan. Yeah. To eliminate superimpositions, to obtain the identified object. Cheren topa, also in Tibetan. Yeah. To realize means to be uncontrovertible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
A mind.
engaged is also the same. Engaged.
So we could say that an appearing object as well can be realized. But yes, when we say we gave last time the definition of an engaged object of a valid cognition, yeah, we put that in the brackets. But it's true that in freedom through correct knowing, Kedubje just says the engaged object. He doesn't say the engaged object of a valid cognition. still we could have a problem, because for the inattentive cognition, for the inattentive cognition, the impermanent phenomenon is the engaged object, but is not realized. So if we say that the definition of an engaged object is an object with regard to which superimpositions have been eliminated by a valid cognition, then we could have a problem for the inattentive cognition, which is not a valid cognition, still has an engaged object.
Yeah. It just doesn't realize what the actual engaged object is. It's totally confused. So, but the engaged object is without superimposition.
Yes.
Our capacity of the mind is not there.
Yes, in the sense that the inattentive cognition, which we will see later, but we have some introduction about that now, that the inattentive cognition is necessarily not wrong, is necessarily not discordant with reality. It is in accordance with reality, but doesn't realize that reality.
Okay. So direct perception is also a cognition which is non-conceptual, non-mistaken. And then is that realized? Does a direct perception always realize its engaged object?
Because if we see, for instance, in the Yonzin Lorik, but in any Lorik textbook, they would say that generally speaking, direct cognition, a direct perception can newly realize its object, so it's a valid cognition, or realize its object but not newly, so it's a subsequent cognition. And it can even not realize its object, so it's inattentive cognition.
Oh.
Yeah. So all the direct perceptions except the yogic perception can be inattentive.
Okay.
Yeah. The yogic direct perception is always ascertaining its aspect. Yeah. Okay. Wow. We've been so deep into the epistemology. Wow. So I will send you the slides as usual. And then, yes, if you can check some definitions, just a few definitions in the list of the definitions I sent you, you can find them again in the slides. Yeah, when there is the slide of the 3 conditions, you click on 3 conditions, then you have all the list of the definitions, and especially the definitions of the 3 conditions, object condition, dominant condition, and immediately preceding condition. Okay, thank you so much. It was so great and so funny as well. So we can dedicate all the merits for the long life and good health of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and for all the masters that are so precious, and that the beautiful Dharma of the Buddha can flourish in order to be useful for so many beings, and they can obtain enlightenment as quick as possible. All the sentient beings. Thank you so much. Thank you, and see you next time. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.